ISIS, the boogeyman, is expanding and growing every single day, and today we will discuss General Wesley Clark and how we funded ISIS. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we will get into so many things related to ISIS and how this connects in to Syria. So first we're going to discuss the article out of the Daily Mail. ISIS threatens to send 500,000 migrants to Europe as a psychological weapon in the chilling echo effect of Gaddafi's prophecy that the Mediterranean will become a sea of chaos. And today we are seeing what ISIS is capable of. The Italian press today published claims that ISIS has threatened to release a huge wave of migrants to cause chaos in Europe if they are attacked. And certainly they are capable of something like this, particularly when they are receiving millions and perhaps billions of dollars in funding, all from the West. So this article right here does get into quite a bit of information. You should read it. And essentially one of the points I wanted to note here is that the Islamic State executed 21 Egyptian Christians on the Libyan beach this week. So we'll get into that in a second here. First, I wanted to discuss General Wesley Clark. ISIS got started through the funding from our friends and allies. This is actually an admitted fact right here. No longer is it a conspiracy theory, but in fact, even the retired General Wesley Clark is saying so. We know that General Wesley Clark had also revealed the 7 countries that they wanted to attack, and certainly this is a continuing subject here that is going on. This is also something that you should watch here in the video, but I'm going to move on just quickly to an article out of the Daily Beast. U.S. won't back Egypt's attack on ISIS. 2 longtime allies are attacking ISIS and growing frustrated with one another. That's good news for the so-called Islamic State. So Egypt went in and actually performed an attack on ISIS, and of course the U.S. seemingly wanting to be in the lead on this, and they are definitely not going ahead as planned. Obama's aides declined to back Egypt's military operation against ISIS. And then they say that this is obviously some strain in between the 2 countries, something that they don't need right now when they have the growing threat of ISIS. So we're going to move on right here quickly. Libya civil war. Italy ready to train anti-ISIS forces to protect its own borders. So Italy actually deployed troops onto the streets in an effort to prevent the chaos from happening, but we'll definitely have to see what happens right here. This is connected to the next article, so I want to flip over to that out of Newsweek. Italy is ready to lead a multilateral effort to tackle the growing threat from jihadists in Libya and prevent a caliphate from forming across the Sea of Europe's shores, the Italian defense minister said. So of course, obviously with this being only 520 miles from the southern tip of Italy, Italy is definitely concerned, and that's why they have reportedly put the troops onto the streets. This is all in response to the 21 Egyptian Christians that were reportedly murdered right there at the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. In the video, the militants talk of conquering Rome and point out the sea towards the Italian coast. The eastern Libyan town of Derna, which is under the terrorist group control, is approximately 520 miles. So there they are. Not only are they basically threatening Italy, but they're going ahead and actually telling what their plans are should they be attacked. And of course, there's going to be attacked, that's for sure, because the US would just continue that policy, and Italy is now joining in the fight. In my book, I talked about how this will simply expand. The Middle East and North Africa are victim to another form of contagion. There have been uprisings all over this area, including Libya, Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Yemen, Syria, Saudi Arabia, and many others. And this is all from the protests partially because of the Arab Spring that was taking place. And of course, this has effectively had calmed down in many ways, but we have different reasons why this is occurring. Right now, we have the threat of ISIS getting the funding from the West and being able to spread their reign of terror wherever they choose to, because when you have the free reign to go and basically expand at will, you will be successful, and it looks like they're doing so right now. I want to connect that in with this. Ukraine crisis. House of Lords criticizes EU and Britain for sleepwalking into crisis as Moscow and NATO remain on diplomatic collision course. So of course, what's happening right now with ISIS is very interesting, because if they go into Syria, we're going to have a major problem. We know that Russia is partnered up with Syria. And of course, ISIS, the boogeyman, will find their way into Syria, and surely the US will then have an excuse to invade. This could bring in the other big powers like Russia into this fight on a full-scale war. It will not be a proxy war anymore. That's exactly what's happening right now. There are proxy wars being fought in the Ukraine, with the US admittedly sending funding and weapons over to them. But right now, we could see a full-scale war that could take place because of what's happening right now with ISIS in their invasion into Syria. This will be very interesting to see how it all plays out. It is, of course, very concerning. I want to connect that in with something else and how this is so silly, so ridiculous, but the mainstream media and the politicians will always project the message that they know exactly what the cause is and they will provide the solutions. John Kerry actually said this. In some cases, and he's referring to the radical Islam, in some cases they may come from a lost job. And you can go on and read what he said, but essentially saying that these terrorists could have become their terrorists, could have received their motivation because they lost their job. And that is absolutely not true. And this is the kind of propaganda that the general public is ready and willing to accept. Pretty ridiculous, if you ask me. But if you want the truth, you can watch this Saudi cleric tell his students that the earth does not rotate. That's right, you do not have a rotating earth. It is, of course, flat at the same time, and pigs do fly. So if you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to become an insider. The Insiders is where I give out all my best intel for free, and that is available at themoneygps.com. You just scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.